A one-bedroom apartment in a mid-tier American city now runs close to $2,000 a month. That's before groceries, that's before a single copay, that's before utilities, car insurance, or anything that resembles a social life. For a retiree drawing Social Security, that math doesn't leave room for comfort. It leaves room for stress. There's a category of destination most retirement content either glosses over or gets wrong. Not the obvious spots people have already priced out of. Not the rough around the edges places that show up in budget travel forums with zero context. These are actual islands. Some in the Caribbean, some in Southeast Asia, some anchored in the Mediterranean, where retirees on a fixed income are living well right now. Genuinely well. Access to healthcare, English-speaking communities, coastal lifestyle, monthly costs that fit inside a Social Security check and leave something left over. This list covers 10 of them. Each one has a real monthly cost range, a specific reason the dollar goes further there, and the honest catch that most content quietly omits. A few of these destinations have formal government programs designed specifically to attract foreign retirees, with legally binding discounts on medical bills, airfare, and daily expenses built directly into the residency framework. Others simply operate in economies where the cost structure is structurally lower, with no special program required. A few things to expect. The cheapest option on this list runs under $1,200 a month for a full coastal lifestyle, including healthcare access and a beach out the door. One entry is 15 minutes by ferry from a Costco, and the island sitting at number 1 is one most people have never heard of, which is precisely the reason it's still affordable. Some of these destinations carry well-known retiree visa programs with documented discount structures. Some are connected to EU healthcare systems. Some simply operate in economies where the dollar converts into a lifestyle that takes real money to replicate back home. All 10 are places where retirees are currently living, not just theoretically surviving. Start taking notes. One of these fits your budget. Here are 10 affordable islands where you can actually retire on a budget. Isla Colón, Panama. Panama shows up in retirement conversations regularly, but usually in the context of Panama City, the urban, cosmopolitan option with a familiar skyline. Isla Colón, sitting in the Bocas del Toro archipelago on Panama's Caribbean coast, gets less attention. That's a meaningful oversight because Isla Colón is where the most structurally valuable part of retiring in Panama actually lives. That would be the pensionado visa, not the beaches, not the year-round warmth, not the fact that Panama uses the US dollar as its official currency, though all of those work in a retiree's favor here. The pensionado program is a legislated discount system tied to residency, a 25% reduction on both domestic and international airline tickets, a 20% reduction on medical consultations and billing, 50% off entertainment venues. These are legally encoded benefits, not seasonal promotions. Stack those reductions on top of a monthly cost of living between $1,100 and $1,400, which covers rent, food, utilities, and leisure. And Isla Colón stops looking like a trade down from American life and starts looking like an upgrade from American retirement math. Panama also uses the US dollar as its official currency, which eliminates exchange rate exposure entirely, a detail that matters considerably for retirees managing a fixed monthly income. The island has fiber optic internet and clinic access. The expat community is established and close-knit. The lifestyle orbits water. Kayaking, sailing, snorkeling, and the kind of daily calm that defines Caribbean island living. The catch is worth naming directly. Isla Colón has a real wet season, and it is genuinely wet. Administrative processes, anything involving paperwork, services, or scheduling, run at a pace that contrasts sharply with North American norms. Retirees who report the most satisfaction here consistently describe valuing freedom over schedule. The ones who find it difficult are the ones who expected efficiency alongside the palm trees. For the right retiree, though, this island offers something rare, a government-backed discount system built specifically for people in the retirement years. The pensionado program is the gold standard for what a country can offer a foreign retiree, and Isla Colón is where you access it with a beach 2 minutes from your front door. Corfu, Greece. Greece carries reputational baggage in the retirement conversation. People hear the country name and immediately recall a decade of economic headlines, and they move on. Corfu sits in the Ionian Sea, operates largely outside those headlines, and delivers a quality of daily life that would cost significantly more on the Italian or French coast without delivering anything meaningfully better. Monthly costs run between $1,300 and $1,800. For that, retirees get a lifestyle built around long communal lunches, weekly farmers markets, and streets that have been there long enough to feel genuinely lived in. The architecture in Corfu's old town, Venetian alleyways, neoclassical buildings, olive groves pressing up against the edges of everything, is not manufactured for tourists. It predates tourism by centuries. Healthcare is accessible through a combination of public and private options, both priced well below Western equivalents. The island has had a long international presence, and English is widely spoken as a result. The language barrier that makes some Greek destinations challenging is considerably lower in Corfu. The social rhythm here is slow and community-centered by design. That sounds appealing in the abstract, but the practical implication is worth stating plainly. Greek bureaucracy operates at its own pace. Residency paperwork, property processes, and banking interactions require patience and, ideally, a local contact who knows how the system actually functions. Retirees who go in with that expectation intact report no surprises. The ones who assume the process works like Northern Europe find it exhausting. Corfu rewards retirees who want to actually inhabit a place, who are willing to show up at the same cafe every morning until they have a standing order and a regular table. The people who integrate well here don't treat Corfu as a location. They treat it as a community they joined. São Miguel, Portugal. The Azores don't look like Portugal. They don't look like anywhere in Europe, really. 9 islands sitting in the Atlantic, and São Miguel, the largest, has an interior landscape defined by crater lakes, thermal hot springs, and volcanic cliffs that drop into the ocean. The coastline consistently stops people mid-sentence when they see it for the first time. Monthly costs on São Miguel run between $1,500 and $2,000. That's higher than several other entries on this list, but the relevant comparison isn't to Southeast Asia. It's to other European retirement options against any comparable European destination with equivalent healthcare access and infrastructure quality. The numbers on São Miguel are low. Several US retirees report that the island's monthly cost of living sits below what they were paying in property taxes alone at home. The structural advantage is healthcare. As an autonomous region of Portugal, São Miguel gives legal residents access to Portugal's national health system, which consistently ranks among the stronger public healthcare systems in the European Union. For retirees accustomed to the American insurance model, this is a significant shift in how healthcare feels, financially and logistically. The safety environment is notable. The research data specifically documents that lost property on the island is routinely returned by locals. That's a specific detail, not a generalization, and it reflects a broader social trust that's difficult to find in most places at any price point. The honest costs, it rains, and it rains often. The island's social depth also rewards Portuguese language skills, not required for daily functioning in the major areas, but meaningful for genuine community integration. The retirees who describe São Miguel as the best decision of their lives are consistently the ones who treated some language learning as part of the plan, not an afterthought. This is a quiet island with world-class natural geography and EU-backed infrastructure, for less money than a one-bedroom apartment in most American cities. ROATAN, Honduras. Most people hear Honduras and stop listening. The retirees already living on ROATAN would prefer you keep doing that. It's a large part of why the island remains affordable. ROATAN sits on the world's second largest barrier reef. That's not a marketing line. It's a geographic reality that shapes what an ordinary Tuesday looks like for retirees who live here. Snorkeling and diving aren't excursions you plan and pay for. They're the default afternoon activity. Accessible from the island's shoreline, the underwater visibility in this reef system is among the best in the Western Hemisphere. Monthly costs run between $1,200 and $1,800. For a Caribbean island with that caliber of marine environment, that number is genuinely low. Comparable Caribbean destinations with equivalent natural features typically run 2 to 3 times higher for similar quality of life. The reef system here supports an underwater ecosystem that marine researchers actively study, which gives the diving community on the island a depth of knowledge and organized infrastructure that casual snorkel destinations rarely develop. The island has a well-established expat community, and that community has shaped local life in practical ways. A significant portion of the local population is bilingual as a result of decades of international presence, which reduces the daily friction of being somewhere you didn't grow up. Healthcare on the island operates through private clinics for routine care, with more complex cases handled on the Honduran mainland. The operating conditions require honest acknowledgement because they matter for planning. Power outages happen, not occasionally, but as a regular feature of island life. Administrative processes run slowly. The adjustment period from North American expectations to Caribbean reality is real and takes time. Retirees who self-describe as adaptable and activity-oriented report no regrets. The ones who need predictable infrastructure report real difficulty. ROATAN selects for a specific type of retiree. The island consistently delivers on marine access, affordability, and expat community. What it doesn't promise is reliability in the logistical sense. If that trade-off works, and for the right person, it absolutely does, the reef alone justifies the conversation. Southern Sri Lanka. The numbers for Sri Lanka's southern coast are worth stating plainly and then letting sit for a moment. Between $900 and $1,200 per month, full coastal lifestyle, beachfront access, seafood dinners for $3, private sector doctor visits between $10 and $20 out of pocket. These are current market costs from the research data, not figures from a decade ago. The specific areas, Gale, Mirissa, and Tangale along the southern coast offer a physical environment that functions as a genuine distinction from every other entry on this list. Colonial architecture, UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and wildlife that is not confined to reserves or tours. Free-roaming animals, lush jungle, and the Indian Ocean coastline operate as the everyday backdrop rather than the highlight of a vacation. English is widely spoken in the major hubs along this coast, which lowers the transition barrier for Western retirees considerably. For advanced medical care, the capital Colombo is accessible. The private healthcare sector along the southern coast has expanded in direct response to international residency interest, meaning the infrastructure in this area specifically has improved over the past several years rather than remaining static. For specialized procedures and internationally accredited hospitals, Singapore and Bangkok serve as the regional backstop, a point worth noting for any retiree doing long-term health planning. The honest caveat for Sri Lanka is geographic, and it is real. This is a long flight from the United States or most of Europe. For retirees who want to see family regularly or who anticipate needing to travel back to their home country for any reason, the distance is a significant variable. This destination also rewards complete commitment. Retirees who want to half engage with the local culture while maintaining a primarily Western social environment will find the experience less satisfying than those who arrived ready to be genuinely present. For those who are ready for that level of immersion, the dollar's purchasing power along Sri Lanka's southern coast is the strongest dollar to lifestyle conversion on this entire list. Malta. Malta breaks a rule that most of the retirement content world treats as fixed, that affordable and European cannot coexist in the same sentence. The island is a sovereign Mediterranean nation with EU membership, high infrastructure standards, and a healthcare system that serves legal residents through both public and private pathways. Monthly costs run between $1,800 and $2,300, the highest range on this list. That number needs context before it registers accurately. English is an official language in Malta, not widely spoken. Official. Property leasing, medical appointments, banking, grocery shopping, all of it happens in English without linguistic friction. For retirees who don't want to navigate a language barrier in day-to-day life, Malta is the only European island destination on this list that eliminates that variable entirely. The island records approximately 300 days of sunshine per year. The island's total land area is small enough that most retirees report never needing a car. Walking and short taxi rides cover the practical geography of daily life. Its documented history spans 7,000 years, and that history is not stored in museums at a distance. It's embedded in the streets, the fortifications, and the harbor views that are part of ordinary daily life here. The density of accessible historical and cultural sites within a short walk or taxi ride is meaningful for retirees who value that kind of daily texture. Summer brings tourist influx. By autumn, the island returns to a community-oriented pace that most long-term residents describe as one of its primary attractions. The comparative argument for the budget, a comparable quality of life on the Italian coast or in the south of France, runs considerably higher for equivalent climate, food culture, and European infrastructure access. Malta offers the same Mediterranean fundamentals without the price premium that attaches to the more internationally famous coastlines. For retirees budgeting toward the upper end of a social security check who want European living without European complications, this is the most logistically straightforward option on this list. Isla Mujeres, Mexico. This one needs to be explained in a specific order because the geography is the entire argument. Isla Mujeres is a small island off the coast of Cancun, 15 minutes by passenger ferry. The island itself runs on golf carts. The streets are narrow, the buildings are brightly painted, the pace is slow in the way that small Caribbean islands are slow. Turquoise water, local restaurants, neighbors who recognize your face within the first week. That part is entirely real and entirely functional. What makes Isla Mujeres different from every other small island on this list is what's 15 minutes behind it. Cancun has private hospitals staffed by internationally trained physicians. Dental clinics where procedure costs are a documented fraction of US rates. Major retail, including international chains, and an international airport that connects to the United States on multiple daily flights. Monthly costs on Isla Mujeres run between $1,200 and $1,800. Temporary residency is straightforward to establish. Medical and dental access through Cancun's private sector removes the healthcare anxiety that drives many retirees away from international destinations, or keeps them tethered to US costs despite wanting to leave. The island's limitation is worth naming. The ferry corridor between Isla Mujeres and the Cancun mainland also carries tourist traffic, and the area around the main dock reflects that. Retirees who want complete distance from resort tourism will find it only partially on Isla Mujeres. The quieter sections of the island deliver, but the proximity to one of Mexico's highest traffic resort corridors is a permanent feature of the location. For retirees who want island lifestyle with a functioning safety net directly accessible, medically, commercially, logistically, this combination is difficult to find anywhere else at this price point. The 15-minute ferry ride is the whole case for Isla Mujeres, and it holds up. Cebu, Philippines. The Philippines appears twice on this list, and that reflects something real about how the country has positioned itself for international retirees. The two entries represent two distinct expressions of what retirement in the Philippines can look like, and Cebu is the urban one. Monthly costs on Cebu run between $1,200 and $1,800. For that, retirees access a city-scale infrastructure that most island destinations simply don't have. High-end malls, international restaurants, and hospitals that meet international standards, where medical staff are predominantly English-speaking. That last detail matters more than it might initially seem. In most foreign language medical environments, even basic appointments require navigating translation. In Cebu's international hospitals, that barrier doesn't exist. The Philippines offers one of the more flexible entry frameworks in Southeast Asia. Standard visitor extensions can run up to 36 months before a permanent residency application becomes necessary, which means a retiree can live in Cebu for 3 years on extended visitor status, use that time to assess whether the lifestyle actually works, and only then commit to a formal residency pathway. That kind of low-pressure trial structure is unusual. Cebu's international airport connects to regional hubs throughout Asia. The ferry network reaches other Philippine islands, making regional travel accessible without complicated logistics or expensive airfare. The white sand beaches and diving sites are real and reachable without significant travel from the city itself. They're not background features and promotional materials. They're active parts of daily leisure for retirees living here. The social note worth including: Filipino culture has a deep communal enthusiasm for karaoke, and that enthusiasm tends to be audible in residential neighborhoods. This is a consistent feature of the environment rather than an occasional occurrence. Prospective retirees should factor it into their assessment of acoustic comfort. It is a documented and recurring detail in the research, not an edge case. Penang, Malaysia. Penang makes a claim that almost no other destination on this list can match. It is simultaneously recognized as a global medical tourism hub and one of Asia's premier food destinations. Both of those reputations are backed by real infrastructure, and both are accessible at a cost of living between $1,000 and $1,600 per month. Street food at Penang's night markets and hawker centers, food that has been referenced in serious culinary circles internationally, runs under $1 per meal. That is not an exaggeration. Hawker stalls here operate at local price points because they have always operated at local price points, and their customer base has always been primarily local. The hospital system reflects a deliberate investment. Many of Penang's physicians completed medical training in the United States or the United Kingdom, which shapes both the standard of care and the communication dynamic for Western patients. Medical tourism to Penang from across Southeast Asia and beyond is an established pattern, not an emerging trend. The Malaysia My Second Home Visa Program, MM2H, offers long-term residency with a process described in the research as having minimal administrative friction relative to comparable programs in the region. For retirees who have navigated the visa renewal cycles of other Southeast Asian countries, the stability of a long-term residency framework carries real value. The island is a cultural layering that resists simple description. Colonial architecture, Buddhist temples, modern commercial districts, and open-air markets operate in close geographic proximity, and English, the legacy of British administration, remains widely spoken at a functional level across all of those contexts. The climate is the honest limitation. Penang is equatorial, hot and humid throughout the year, with no meaningful temperate season. This is not a destination for retirees seeking Mediterranean-style climate variation, for retirees who have made peace with consistent tropical heat, and for whom healthcare quality and food culture rank as primary lifestyle priorities. Penang is the strongest combined offer on this list. Bohol, Philippines. Most people have never heard of Bohol. That's precisely why it's at the top. The island sits roughly 2 hours from Cebu City by ferry. Monthly costs run between $1,000 and $1,500. Beachfront lunches cost $5. A doctor's visit runs approximately $20 out of pocket. English proficiency is high. The Philippines ranks among the highest English proficiency nations in Asia, and Bohol reflects that consistently. These are the financial conditions on the ground right now, drawn directly from current research. What separates Bohol from simply being the cheaper Philippine option is what the cost of living actually includes. The natural environment here is genuinely distinctive. The Chocolate Hills, a geological formation of more than 1,200 symmetrical mounds that exist nowhere else on Earth, are not a side trip. They're visible from the interior of the island as part of the daily landscape. River wildlife encounters, marine ecosystems, and dive sites are accessible from the island itself, making the outdoor range unusually varied for a destination at this price point. For anything Bohol's local infrastructure doesn't cover, specialized medical care, urban retail, international connectivity, Cebu City serves as the regional hub and is accessible without complicated logistics or expensive transit. The lifestyle here is slow, nature-centered, and community-built. There are no high-end shopping districts, no dense nightlife, no urban amenities that require a city to support them. What the island has is time, outdoor time, community time, and a pace of living that most retirees describe as the thing they were actually looking for when they started searching. The math on that time, between $1,000 and $1,500 a month. On a standard Social Security check, that's not just affordable, it's comfortable with actual savings left over. No caveats, no footnotes, just a coastal island where the dollar stretches further than almost anywhere else on this planet, in a country where English is the language of daily life, and the medical system functions in it too. That's why Bohol is number 1. 10 islands, monthly budgets running from $900 to $2,300, some backed by EU healthcare, some structured around government visa programs with built-in discounts on medical bills and flights, some operating in economies where a full afternoon of dining and leisure costs less than a single lunch back home. The consistent pattern across all 10 is not that they're inexpensive, it's that the dollar's purchasing power in each of these jurisdictions translates directly into a better quality of daily life, not a reduced one. Healthcare, housing, food, community, the actual material of a retirement, and costs less in each of these places. In several of them, they cost dramatically less. What the research across all 10 destinations consistently surfaces is that the retirees who made the move rarely describe it as a financial decision alone. The lower cost of living was the door. What they found on the other side, the pace, the community, the daily physical environment, albeit was what kept them there. The retirees already living on these islands didn't leave because they had given up on something. They ran the numbers, looked at what the same money produced in different environments, and made a rational decision. The lifestyle they're living now, the morning coffee by the water, the affordable doctor's visit, the neighbors who know their name, wasn't available at home at that price. It was available elsewhere. The question worth sitting with is a simple one. Of these 10 islands, which one matches the life you actually want to live?